It's Sunday, November 15th, 8:11 p.m., 2020. Now, try and get stuff done. And I have my plants, as you see here. I bought some cat grass and I put them all into this. It was too small and they were just crunched in there. So I cut up a couple of these containers that hold mushrooms, and I've been collecting them. So, and I did up the dishes, got more dishes. I boiled down. I've been saving up food so that I can compost, and maybe that works better. I've been saving all my throwaway food so that I can use it for what do you call it? So I can use it for plant food. So I boil it, and I put it into these jars. So these 2-liter jars, I put the boiled down throwaway food into it. And then with the idea of compost, I don't know if you can see it, but I also put in, I don't know if you can see it, but I also put in a layer of that boiled down food so that the plant, the vegetation, can eat the food and drink the liquid. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work. Probably kill them. But as you can see, the grass is turning red. That's from the beets, right? I cut off the crappy parts of the beets. I eat the beets and drink the juice that I boil with the beets and the carrots and potatoes and sweet potatoes and all that. But yeah, before I start feeding the plant, and it was just the basil plant at first, I thought, you know what? That plant needs a friend. So I bought it some cat grass. The grass is telling me it needs more water, I think. Either that the air is too dry in this apartment. So I'm trying to feed it good boiled food for the nutrients, and try and feed it water too. But I'm not sure if you could see it or not, but the basil plants were dying on me, turning black on their leaves and stuff. And since I started feeding it boiled down food like the juice, that blackness went away. Now the leaves aren't turning black, and the basil actually looks healthier. I'm glad for that. I quit eating the basil, which is weird. I bought the basil so I could eat living food, right? Right off the vine, some would say. But, yeah. Oh, I finished Demi Moore. The last hour of her, or maybe it was half an hour, 45 minutes of her audiobook. If you ever, from Amy Smart to Jewel to Jessica Simpson, Demi Moore, my favorite so far in her perspective or her conclusion or her epilogue, she called it. She kind of like condenses and shares her view on her life. And that's really important. And if you need a little bit of help I will first recommend you check out, depending upon what kind of help you need, right? Find somebody who's going through or has gone through something that you're having a problem with, and then find out how they feel about something and find out what works for them. Because it might not work for you, but you can take what they tell you and you can find your own solution. Now, with this Jack Reacher novel, Past Tense by Lee Child, I really like these Jack Reacher books. I think this is like my fourth one, including the 2 movies that have been done. But I really like these Jack Reacher. I think this is the 5th one, including the 2 movies. Oh, and I've been saving all this food that I throw away and compost and trying. I don't need it all. I keep it all in the freezer, and that works. I do not keep any food out in the house, especially compost food. It doesn't make sense. So I throw it in the freezer. And I think, see, I did a lot of research on composting and apartments and including in Brantford, Hamilton, London, all these cities have tried creating a compost food collection thing of just throwaway food. So I created a new compost that are sold to individual people, but they already have those. So I create a compost system for apartment buildings and complexes, whether it be duplexes or larger, so that you can just hook up the wagon, because the compost system is on a wagon that you can just hook up and you can take it to wherever that city's composting landfill might be, and you can eject the compost and maybe the city or the county or the municipality will pay you per pound or whatever it might be, because it's too expensive for a city to go around collecting it house to house. So it makes really good sense to create systems like I did, and I've been looking for people who like the idea of selling these systems to complexes, even high-story buildings that everybody. Now, my view is you can give people in the building employment, maybe a couple of people who can go around collecting compost, because most people will not care. And if you have a little ice box near the door, and it's a 2-way door that's locked from both sides, and this little refrigerator compartment can be accessed from the hallway and accessed from the inside of the apartment. You just put your food, the throwaway food, in there. It's refrigerated and it's collected daily. Or you make it big enough so it can be collected maybe every other day, every 2 or 3 days, whatever it might be. You could even set up a system where people boil their compost. Maybe they're doing plants or something. You know what? There's always something you can do to create a really, really good thing, even if you do it for other people, because that food has energy and it can be turned, and that's the whole idea of recycling and composting, is it gets turned into food for plants, but it can also be turned into energy for, powering powering a house or helping power a city. I don't think that's a really good idea for compost, but I mean, technically it could be done. I'd rather see human bio waste be used as an energy source than the food. The food's kind of more important to put back into the ground, where the human bio waste, after you've used it for energy, you can get rid of it. So at 4 hours into Jack Reacher, Jack trying to be a good guy and helping, he turns into the littlest hobo, or Kung Fu, if you ever enjoyed those Kung Fu series, either Kung Fu or Kung Fu The Legend Continues, as a loner who has to keep on walking and never able to stay anywhere because the people who deal with justice in their own way are now after him. What do you want me to tell you? There's a reason why the Littlest Hobo and the Kung Fu series was written. It is for situations like this where people can't be in relationships, can't have a family or anything else because there are people after them, and these people aren't the nicest of people. So they have very real problems, and they have to keep going from town to town. Back in the 1920s, and this thing was started past tense back in 39 or so. But I mean, you see the food lines from the 1920s and the Great Depression, where all the men, all the hobos, had to go from town to town and keep on walking because they were not welcome. They're dialects, they're hobos, they're nomads. They are useless, they're expendable, they're a waste of resources. So, because they can't do nothing, which really isn't true, everybody can do something. It's just a question of is what you can do of value. And even if it's of value, if you can't stay anywhere and you have to keep on going from town, you got to be a loner, a nomad, all that stuff. Well, it's going to be a tough life. And you don't raise a family that way. You probably choose never to have kids if you got to live that way. That's normal. And it's been happening all through history. Hence, you have people who don't want to start a family, and yet families happen. And yet they can't stay, they can't leave because they want to be part of the family because that's their family. They love their family, but they can't stay. So just like in Demi Moore's book, being told that, he's saying with his actions, don't love me, get rid of me, throw me away, I'm no good for you. But everybody got the reasons, right? Yeah. Him and her, I will not tell you a story, but thank you, Demi Moore, and everybody else who have shared their stories, because in looking at everybody's situation and circumstances and all these things, you can see how being able to change how you deal with a problem is actually really, really good if you're able to talk about it and fix it so it doesn't destroy your entire life. Oh, the great gazoo. Here, I'm going to install a nuclear button in every household, so if you're ever pissed off, you just push the button and no more problems. Yeah. So Great Gazoo got sent back to the Flintstones, right? Hey, you know what? Thank you.